right, welcome back and thank you so much for staying with Morning Live. Now, the Democratic Alliance has voiced its concern over what it calls the wastage of taxpayers' money by the Public Service Administration Minister Faith Muthambi. The party says that it will be writing to the chairperson to demand that Muthambi pays the 300,000 expense that was incurred when she flew people to watch her speak in Parliament during her budget vote. The allegation is that she flew family members, including her son, her sister, her aunt, mother, and as well as the former SABC Board Chairperson, Ellen Tshabalala. Joining us from our studios in Parliament is the DA's Chief Whip John Steenhuisen. Mr. Steenhuisen, good morning to you and thank you so much for coming through.
Good morning to you. It's great to be with you and the viewers this morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much indeed. Now, these allegations, of course, are very serious that the minister flew her family members, including her son, as I said. But then how did you get to know about the allegations?
Well, obviously, it arose out of press reports that have come out over the weekend papers. But certainly the revelations are quite shocking. You know, there's nobody who begrudges a minister bringing one or two family members to come and watch their budget speech. But I think it's the huge amount of the entourage that arrived and the huge expense of taxpayers' money in this instance, particularly in the very tight fiscal environment that we found and 9 million South Africans unemployed. I think it's grotesque and completely unacceptable for a minister to be spending this amount of public money on flying family members for a junket in Cape Town.
Yeah, is it just about the number of family members that she flew, or have you also consulted the ministerial handbook? What does it say under the additional benefits for national members? Does it not provide, is there no provision for such?
It obviously, ministers are entitled to bring close family members to watch their budget speech. But when the austerity measures were introduced by then Minister of Finance, Pravin Gordhan, prior to his removal, in light of the fact that South Africa was heading towards a technical recession, and in light of the fact that government had to tighten its belt, these were greatly rowed back, and so ministers were exhorted to ensure that they cut expenditure on unnecessary items that don't necessarily pertain to service delivery in the department. And so whilst a whole host of other ministers have cut back on this, it appears that Ms. Muthambi has continued with her acts of defiance, carried over from her time as the communications minister into her new portfolio now at Public Service Administration, completely defying these cost-cutting measures. The truth of the matter is that with the ratings downgrade, government's going to have to do a lot more with a lot less money. And we simply can't afford to have ministers who are not taking these austerity measures seriously and are putting the needs of them and their families ahead of the people of South Africa.
And then some people may ask, as we do know that her budget speech was in May, why did it take the party so long to act? Or was the DA not aware of the circumstances until it was brought to its attention by the newspaper reports over the weekend?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you there.
I'm saying, why is the DA only acting up on these allegations now? Were you not aware beforehand? Were you only made aware of the circumstances by the newspaper reports over the weekend?
No, we weren't aware of it. Obviously, on the day of a budget speech, it's very difficult to ascertain who is actually ministerial guests in the gallery because it's obviously a public gallery, and so it's open to all members of the public. And so obviously what's happened is that there's people who are unhappy within her own department with the minister's abuse of public money, right, and have obviously leaked this information. It's now Parliament's duty to act on that information, and it's for that reason that we've asked the chairperson of the Public Services Portfolio Committee, Mrs. Makosi Khoza, to summon Ms. Muthambi to appear before the committee to explain herself and for there to be a recovery of monies that were in excess of what should have been allowed.
Now, Mr. Steenhuisen, earlier in the year, the DA demanded that Minister Muthambi pays from her own pocket the legal costs that were incurred by the SABC when she took the ad hoc committee's report on review in her capacity as the then Minister of Communications. What has the outcome been on this case?
Well, obviously we're still continuing to pursue that, and we believe that when vexatious litigation is brought by ministers in order not to protect the executive interest or the executive authority of South Africa, but instead to protect the minister in her personal capacity, that she should have paid those costs. It was a frivolous and vexatious case, and the South African taxpayer shouldn't be picking up the tab on a continuous basis for vexatious and frivolous cases brought by ministers attempting to protect their own hides rather than protecting the interest of South Africa.
And that's not the only case, because we also know that the DA laid their own case against Minister Muthambi on the Gupta emails leak. We've also seen Alta as well announcing that they've also laid treason charges against the minister following those leaked emails. What are you hoping to see with that particular one?
What we want, I think, is what all South Africans want. They want accountability out of this Gupta scandal. I think that on a daily basis, South Africans are being shocked by the revelations that emerge. But it's not good enough just simply to be shocked if we're not holding these ministers accountable. And so where ministers have been criminally liable, they must be charged, they must be investigated, and they must be prosecuted. Where ministers have abused public funds, there should be a civil recovery of those funds from ministers. Until we start to get an accountability framework in South Africa, where ministers realise that they are held accountable by Parliament and that they are accountable via the Constitution to the people of South Africa through Parliament, we're not going to change the culture that is set in, which is so evident from these Gupta emails, of absolute impunity and of state coffers just simply being raided, not in the interests of South Africans or to advance service delivery, but to advance the personal interests of ministers. And until we hold those accountable and start sending a few people to jail and recovering these sums of money, unfortunately this culture is just simply going to continue under the Zuma administration.
Would some people be correct, Mr. Steenhuisen, to say that it looks like the DA is sort of overlooking their own internal misconduct? I would just want to quote that last year, or when the story that Patricia de Lille has actually spent over 2 million rands on international travel cost, the DA was blamed for being silent on the matter.
Well, I think that you've got to take a very big difference between flying a group of family members who can do nothing to advance the people of South Africa's interests, that are simply there on a junket, and official trips overtaken by public office bearers overseas in order to bring trade and investment. And I think that if one looks at the recent investment figures that Mr. Lil and the City of Cape Town released in this last week alone, those trips are bearing fruit for the people of Cape Town. There is a contingent benefit to them. These are not just simply junkets to go hang out at the Oberoi Hotel in Dubai or secure a mining deal for your buddies in Switzerland. These are genuine trade missions, and international cities like Cape Town have to reach out as the local economy starts to tank, to start look at attracting foreign direct investment into the city, attracting enterprise to the city, so that we can get people back to work. And I think if you look at the City of Cape Town and its job figures, there's a reason why the Western Cape and the City of Cape Town have far less unemployment than other parts of South Africa. And that's because these ministers, these premiers and these mayors are out there every single day attracting industry, attracting investment to keep South Africans in these cities working.
All right. Now, we'll leave it at that due to time constraints, but thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you. It's always a great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much indeed. Well, John Steenhuisen is the DA's Chief Whip, talking to us, of course, about the allegations that the Public Service and Administration Minister, Faith Muthambi, flew her family members and friends to her budget speech earlier in March. And we've also seen the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee issuing a statement yesterday based on the Sunday News reports, saying that the Portfolio Committee is noting with concerns those allegations. So this is a developing story that will surely be keeping a close eye on. Let's take a break here on Morning Live. When we come back, we'll be speaking some sign language. Stay tuned.